Hello? Hello? Hello, and welcome to the stream. I am Sydney, and I am just waiting a couple more minutes. We have about a half hour until the Reds, until the MLB draft starts. Um, I'm wanting the Reds to take Charlie Condon. He seems to be, the best outfielder in this draft, at least best MLB ready outfielder in this draft. Um, and, that is really where our biggest hole is. We have um, Will Benson. Will Benson in the outfield hasn't really been doing great right now. He is really just still up with the club just because we don't have anyone who can really take a spot at this point, unfortunately. Um, but he needs to go down and clear his head. Hopefully we can get someone at the deadline and send him down and try to clear things up. Hopefully that will help him along his development journey because he was really good last year, and has just fallen off a cliff this year. Needs to really needs to clear his head down there in Louisville. We also have Jake Fraley, who it has a decent batting average, but only has one home run on the season. Almost had a second on um, on Saturday, but it went foul. Um, and he's not really been the power threat that he's been in the past. He's still hitting for average, so he's okay, but not being the power threat that we know him to be. And then um, you've got um, you've got other players such as Austin Slater, who we just traded for. Austin Slater is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Is batting below 200 at this point. Um, Not really much to say there. Um, just hoping he can get it back on track because he's been a um, very good outfielder in the past, even as recently as last year. Hoping friendly um, the friendly park that is Great American can help him get back on track. And then uh, you've got Reese Hines, who's been, on a tear since he got called up. 5 home runs in his first 6 games. Really been on a tear, extra base hit machine, but was batting, I believe, like 216 in AAA. Who knows how sustainable that is? Who knows how long he can keep that going? Uh, as Reds fans, we remember Aristides Aquino. We remember him for sure. Um, and who knows if you know Reese Hines can go back to that. I mean, big difference is Aristides Aquino was just crushing balls and was doing really well down there in Triple A when he got called up, versus Reese Hines was striking out 40% of the time, 216 average. Not really doing the best there. Um, but he's doing really well up here. I do want to point out, in Double A last year, towards around this time, he did start taking off and did finish the year respectably. So who knows? Maybe he's just a second half guy, and this is just when he takes off and when his time is. I mean, Jeimer Candelario is that sort of guy. Joey Votto, as we all know, was that guy his entire career. Uh, so who knows? Hopefully that's the case, and hopefully what he is bringing us right now is real. He was hitless today in the last game against the Marlins, where we lost 3-2. Um, you know, just hoping that's not the beginning of the drop off, but we'll see. We've also had other people up here this season, such as Bubba Thompson. Um, he was he had speed. He couldn't hit the ball at all, but he had speed. He was on the Texas roster last season, and we picked him up off of waivers. He's been sent to Chattanooga at this point. Been okay down there. Um, we also had Jacob Hurtubise. Hurtubise batted above 300 last year. Was the Reds minor league player of the year. Came up this year and batted, 150. Wasn't really getting it done. Was getting on base, but not really getting it done up here. We also had Blake Dunn. Blake Dunn also hit above 300 last year in the minors. Was doing really well. Um, just hadn't gotten it done up here. I believe his batting average started with a 0. So yeah, not really getting it done. So we could really use some good outfield help, because that's the one place we're lacking in the system. Uh, really, all of the outfielders we have are converted infielders, like Reese Hines, but they're not much above high A with Dayton. Speaking of Hector Rodriguez and the sort down there, uh, so they're still several years away. Versus Charlie Condon could, I believe we could see him next season with us. Some people are joking about calling him up at, after the All Star break. That's not realistic, but we could see him next season, I believe. Um, Especially with a good spring training. Reds have not shied away from um, calling those prospects up if they have a good spring training and show they are ready out there in Arizona. Um, so yeah, we could really use him. Some boards have shown us getting Caglione, the two-way player from Florida, who raked a lot. Was really good for them, but is only going to be a first baseman realistically in the MLB. And you could spend more time and keep him down in the minors longer if you wanted to truly develop him as a two-way player. Reds have drafted a couple of them in the past, most notably Hunter Green. Hunter Green was a two-way player when we drafted him. We committed him to just pitching as he was throwing over 100 miles per hour. They also drafted um, Ortiz last year. Ortiz was a shortstop slash, I believe, a right-handed pitcher, and he is now only a shortstop. But they did sign Shing In Lin, who um, has yet to pitch this season, but per my friend Doug Gray, he is supposed to start pitching in the second half, or at least after the All Star break, down there in the Arizona Complex League. He has been hitting very well down there, but that's really all we have as far as two-way players, aside from Alex Molendino is also down there in the Complex League, trying to become a knuckleballer. Um, so, or actually, I apologize. Um, he is with uh, Daytona. Blendino is with Daytona. So, those are the two people mocked to us so far are, um, Condon, Charlie Condon out of Georgia, and then um, you've also got Jack Coglione um, from Florida, both SEC guys. Um, you know, we'll see if they go that route. A couple of other guys to think about are going to be JJ Weatherholt out of West Virginia, where he was tearing the cover off the ball and could have been a first round pick last year, um, but wasn't eligible. He is eligible to be drafted this year. Hurt his hamstring, came back towards the end of the year for West Virginia. Was okay, wasn't quite tearing the cover off the ball as he was prior, but he does have that, I believe, 70 plus hit tool, um, 65, 70 hit tool. Um, Then you've also got Travis Bazana, who was doing it really well this season for Oregon State. I really believe um, he can hit as well. The only issue with both of them is they are infielders at this point. Now, if you want to convert them to outfielders, you can definitely do that. But I really believe that the system has enough middle infield talent, as Weatherholt is a shortstop, but Bazan is a second baseman. We have enough talent there. You don't really need to go that route. Um, you don't really need to go that route at this point. Other people to keep in mind are Chase Burns. The I believe he was with Wake Forest last year. Um, no, yeah, Wake Forest starting pitcher. He was really good for them and was really good with Vanderbilt before that. Um, and then you've also got Hagen Smith, who was really good for Arkansas this last season. Those are the two best college starting pitching options um, you have as far as that goes. But I don't think we'll go anywhere other than either of those few, either of those like six. I don't see us going Bryce Rayner. I don't see us going um, Connor Griffin. I don't really see us going, the prep route. We did that last year, not last year, but 2 years ago with Cam Collier, who was recently just named the Futures Game MVP after he led off the scoring in that game with a home run. Um, but I really think we're going to go, especially since we have the second pick, and who knows with the lottery when the next time we'll have a pick as high as this again. I think we're really going to go, hopefully, best player available with Condon, but at least one of the college players, as they're all, you know, close to being MLB ready. You could probably slot any of those six in Double A and feel fine and see them next year, maybe at the start, maybe in the middle. Worst case scenario, you could see them in 2026. You know, but we'll see. We'll see where they go. But first, you do have the Guardians have the first pick. Who knows where they're going to go? They could go best player available and take Condon. They could go with the other best player available and go with Bazana. Bazana seems more their pick. Or they could go JJ Weatherholt and try to save money there and spend that money later on in the draft. Um, you know, we'll see. I could see them going either way, as they don't really have a specific need at second base or shortstop at the moment. Really, I'd say shortstop they need more at this point. Um, with Andres Jimenez not necessarily being that great this season, but we'll see. Um, but yeah, we'll see where the Reds go. And then, aside from the draft, Reds did go 5-5 on the homestand. Did not start off the homestand great after sweeping the Yanks. Got swept by the Tigers and then won 3-4 from the Rockies. That was a really good series. We fought very hard to win that third game that we lost. Win that third game of the series. Unfortunately, Ty Steve did get thrown out. And that ended up, you know, being the game deciding factor there. And then today you have us losing the last game of the Marlin series, which was very key for us to win. We really needed to get that, as I believe David Bell knew, since he pulled Nick Lodolo in the um, fifth and just emptied the bullpen. Um, you know, and you could really tell, especially with today and yesterday, that he knew how important these two games were for us. Unfortunately, we lost today 3-2. The big deciding factor being the base hit off Fernando Cruz that scored a run in the 8th. Unfortunately, that didn't go our way, but, not everything is going to go our way. We do enter the break 47-50, 3 games under, but we do have, after the break, we do have the Nationals, and where we will get to see older friend Jesse Winker and Derek Law. Unfortunately, they do not have Nick Senzel anymore after they designated him for assignment and cut him earlier this week. But they still do have Jesse Winker, who has been very good for them, and Derek Law, who's been Derek Law. He's just going to be a stable guy with around like a 3.5, 4 ERA in your bullpen. You can call upon him. He's most likely going to get the job done more times than not. We'll see if either of them get traded later this month, but as of right now, they are still with the Nationals. So it will be nice to see both of them. But that is going to be a series that the Reds need to at least win, if not sweep. But we'll see where that goes. Also, earlier this week, India got rolled up on. Hopefully, he is okay. After a hard slide at second base, took him out during the double play. Hoping he's okay. Hoping that he can get some eyes on it, some rest during this break, and be okay afterwards. And then Carson Spires was put on the IL with a right shoulder injury. He said that if the All-Star break wasn't there, he probably wouldn't have been put on the injured list. Hopefully he can come back sooner rather than later from that. And I assume Nico Martinez is going to take a spot since we have so many other injuries to our starting pitching options at this point. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes after the break. And then, speaking of the break, we do have 3 All-Stars this year. David Bell did get invited to be at the coaching staff for the National League, sort of just as a ceremonious honor from Torey Lovullo, since his brother Mike Bell was on Torey Lovullo's staff before he tragically passed a couple of years ago. So he invited David to be on his staff this year, which I believe was a really cool ask. Was a really cool opportunity for him. And then we've also got Elly De La Cruz, the Electric Man. We'll see how he does out there, but he is electric. And then a late add earlier this week was Hunter Green. He was added as an injury substitute, and he's deserved it. He deserved this year truly being on the All-Star team. He's been so reliable for us. Sure, he's had a couple of bad outings, but who hasn't? And aside from those like 2 or 3 bad outings, it's been nothing but consistent 6, 7, 1 run, 0 run outings. That he's really deserved to be an All-Star this year. Also deserving was Andrew Abbott. Sad to see that he is not heading out there. He had a rough close to the first half, but he did deserve to be out there, in my opinion, with his numbers, since he was I believe, the 3rd best starting pitcher in the National League as far as B-WAR goes. That really speaks to how well he's done and how deep into games he's been able to go. Hunter Green was tied for first last I saw, with Reynaldo Lopez of the Braves, who is an All-Star as well. So, sad to see Abbott didn't get the nod, but, his time will come soon enough. I'm sure that he will probably be an All-Star multiple times over before all is said and done with his career. Um, you know, so we'll see. Um, but hopefully they both can pick it up where they left off to start the second half, because they're going to be really important for us if we want to do as we're expecting and stay in this wildcard chase. Um, and even take a spot. Um, that was a big part last year is their legs couldn't hold up. Hopefully their legs can hold up a little bit more this season, even if it means a Phantom Isle stint or two for them, just to make sure that they are there and healthy and able to pitch into October. Because that's more important than one or two outings in August or one or two outings in September. So you know, hopefully they can make it that far. Hopefully Lolo can make it that far. We'll see where we're at that point. Um, and who knows? Maybe if we draft Condon or any of these prospects, who knows? They could do so well in like a month and a half um, down there in the minors that they could get called up. It's not unheard of. I mean, we we have done it before with Mike Leake. We've also done it. I mean, that's the last time we've called someone up straight out of the draft. And then it's been done recently by the Angels. Angels do it almost every season, like clockwork. Um, so, not unheard of, but they're not going to have signed by the time the All Star break's over, so they're not going to be up that quick, but they could be up late September, early October, if need be, if we are in the hunt still, hopefully. Um, but yeah, if you all have any comments, any suggestions as to who you think we should take, any comments about the season so far, just go ahead and comment it down below, leave it in the chat. And I'd be more than happy to talk about it. Um, but you know, we'll see. We'll see where we go at this point. Um, but yeah, just waiting to see. Just waiting to see um, where Guardians go and then where we go once this draft starts in a little bit. Um, right now, it looks like ESPN is interviewing former Tennessee Volunteer Christian Moore. Not really familiar with his game as I haven't really scouted um, down real past where the Reds are drafting in like the top 10, top 15, any of those guys. Um, you know, but he seems to be an interesting character. Um, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see where we go. Also, another thing that was talked about earlier this week, as was confirmed by Yankees scouts being at our games this week, was the Yankees being interested in, if not one, multiple of our relievers. We have several good relievers. We have several. We have a couple in AAA that are just down there and could be called up, and I would trust in them at this point. So you know, doing another reliever deal like we did with Alex Young um, wouldn't be, wouldn't wouldn't be against it. Preferably if we did do such, we'd get another outfielder like we did Slater. Um, there are several prospects in the Yankees organization that I would like. Top being um, Spencer Jones, as far as realistic options go. Jason Dominguez is their golden prize, their golden nugget there. Um, as he's coming back from Tommy John, that's not really going to be a realistic option as far as someone we can get at the trade deadline without giving up, I'd say, Alexis Diaz and multiple and more Alexis Diaz, Cruz, and Sims, maybe. But I feel like that's too much to give up for just one guy. But I wouldn't be against them selling high on Cruz, or trading Sims as he is a free agent at the end of the year. Um, you know, because we do have hopefully Ian Jabot coming back after the break, and hopefully he'll come back in early August. I hope. Um, we also have Emilio Pagan, who might come back towards the end of the season. And then we have people down in AAA such as Yosver Zulueta, who has been okay up in the majors in limited action, and then Zach Maxwell, who just throws gas. Just throws straight gas, and I really want to see him in the bigs at some point, but we'll see. Um, but I wouldn't be against trading really anyone in the pen aside from maybe Diaz at this point, unless we do get a really big return on him, as he is having a down year. And I feel like trading him now at this point would be selling low. Um, but anyone else really, I'd be okay with trading. I'd prefer if we kept Suter though. Suter and Martinez both, but Sims, Cruz, Maul. Um, I'd be fine with trading either of those three, or Tony Santillan, who was just called up this series, or a couple of days ago. I'd be okay with trading any of those three, but we'll see what the Yankees. If the Yankees are interested truly in any of those arms, and if so, if they can get a deal done with Nick Krall. But that's really been the news this week. That's really been it. We have the draft tonight. We have the All-Star game, and then Home Run Derby coming up later this week, and then second half starts on Friday at the Nationals, and we'll see what all happens there, and hopefully TJ Friedel can come back sooner rather than later. He's another outfield piece that I forgot to mention earlier, who should be coming back soon. He was seen doing some full speed drills out there at Great American yesterday, Saturday. So I do believe he will be back sooner rather than later. Probably not even needing a rehab stint down there with Louisville. That should help. And then I'm interested to see all of the if there are any promotions after we come back from the break. As there are a couple of guys that I believe are worthy of it at this point, but we'll see. All right, we only have a couple more minutes until the draft starts here at 7 o'clock Eastern. Um, you know, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Um, we'll see. Um, Very interested to see where the Guardians go. As I like them. You know, they're another Ohio team. They're in the American League, so I root for them as much as I can. Whenever they're not playing the Reds, I root for them. So they've been really good this season, tops in the American League. Um, Only had a 2% chance to get the number one overall pick, and it did go their way. Uh, so we'll we'll see who they end up taking, whether it be best player available for them, either Condon or Bazana, or if they go the cheaper route to save money and spread that money throughout later on in the draft and try to get someone a better prep arm in the second round. Um, you know, and take a JJ Weatherholt or someone like that. But we'll see what option they go, what option the Reds go thereafter, and then how the rest of the first round goes. Um, but I am certain that if a player does fall to the Cardinals or the Brewers, that they're probably going to be an all-star. I mean, that's how I feel after every draft. So we'll see if they can get someone really good down there. Hopefully they can't, but we'll see. I'm just happy that the Reds have a high draft pick this year. Um, as the last number one overall pick from last year, he's starting the All-Star game this year. So who knows? Maybe we'll be able to get a bat that can turn around and maybe not necessarily be that good, but be a starter for us next year. And either Condon, Bazana, Jack Caglione, Weatherholt, any of them. Or, we do have an opening in the 5 spot. So you could possibly go Chase Burns. You could possibly go Hagen Smith. Either of them could possibly go to AA, or possibly just sit out the rest of the season, as the Reds did with Rhett Lauder last season. But I do expect that if they go a bat route, if they take a bat, that they will sign them, and that bat will be assigned to Arizona, and then maybe get promoted from there. In August, and who knows from there where they'll be. But here we go. The draft is starting. We have the first 2 picks. Athletics at 4, White Sox 5, and they both of those organizations are desperate for any talent they can get. So, thankfully for the Reds, they are in a good position. They have a lot of good talent in their system. They have a lot of good talent on their major league roster. We're just trying to plug holes. In Cleveland, they don't necessarily have that many holes either. They have a couple holes here or there, but nothing real major. And then you've got Colorado at 3, who is just desperate to get any sort of talent they can get. I do beg of Colorado, please do not take another college arm. Please do not. I am tired of seeing them draft college arms just for them to not amount to anything, because they play in course. So, Chase Verlander, I'm looking at you, sir. I'm looking at you. I don't really know if you'll amount to much out there, and I really liked you, but the Cleveland Guardians are officially on the clock. Um, they've had a while to think about their pick. Hopefully, they do submit it, relatively quickly. Um, but they could go several different ways, and then Reds could go many different ways off of that. Um, we'll just see. We'll just see um, where any of that goes. But yeah, I just hope the Reds don't take Caglione. To be honest, I'm scared of injuries with him being a two-way player. I'm scared of his strikeouts. I don't necessarily know if his feel for breaking balls and his feel for the zone will translate. Uh, but you know, he'd be the one I'd be, most uncomfortable with out of any of the like six options we have, or at least the four bats. Uh, but you know, not wouldn't wouldn't be upset if they went either any of the other bat routes. Um, and here goes the commissioner, Rob Manfred, with Adrian Beltre. She's gonna be a Hall of Famer this year. Big fan of him when he was with Texas. He's getting booed.
To welcome the young men who have joined us here tonight. This night represents a significant milestone in your careers. For some, it may be the first of many trips to All-Star Week. Perhaps it may even be the first step to a Hall of Fame career.
Generic commissioner stuff, talking about first of many trips to All-Star game. My stepping stone to the Hall of Fame. And he's now welcoming Beltre to the stage. My favorite Beltre moment was when he was told to get back into the circle, and he just dragged the circle with him where he was and put it where he was, and he got ejected. That was funny. That was my favorite moment of his career. He was really good for the Dodgers, very good for the Mariners, and lights out in Texas. And that's where I remember him the most, was as a Ranger. But yeah, he was really good there.
Now we turn the 2024 draft to the Cleveland Guardians, not the first pick.
Okay. They're just now putting the Guardians on the clock. Okay. I got confused because the ESPN graphics said they were already on the clock, but they're just now being officially put on the clock. So we'll see where they go. Kylan McDaniel does say they do need some right-handed pitching. So I don't expect them to go necessarily that route unless they want to save money and take a Chase Burns or Hagen Smith. I do expect them to shore up their strength and make it even stronger and get another middle infielder that they can that they could use uh, in their journey to try to win the AL Central this year, or they'll probably be up most likely next year in 2025. So I expect them to go middle infielder, whether it be Bazana, whether it be JJ Weatherholt. I really feel like it's between those two. I don't expect them to take Condon at all. From what I've heard, they're not that interested in Condon, which is fine. Leave him to the Reds, and Reds should snatch him up. Um, but, you know, we'll see where they go. Braden Montgomery, I'm a big fan of too down there for Texas A&M. Not necessarily think the Reds should take him at 2, but I like him as a prospect. I also like Vance Honeycutt. He's another outfielder I like. That if the Reds were down where they were last year at 17, that they should be all over. Reds aren't in that spot this year. So, they don't necessarily need to worry about taking either of them, but, I do like them as prospects. I do also like Durangelo, the switch pitcher out of Texas A&M. I really find him fascinating. I really liked Pat Venditti when he was up for the Marlins, is where I remember him. And then he also, I believe, pitched for the White Sox. But I really, really liked him. Just because I find people who are able to pitch like that very interesting and, very cool, because not many people can do it. There is a select handful of people who have, even at a college level or even at a high school level, to be able to take that through a draft and into the minors and possibly even up to the majors would be really cool. Um, you know, but he's not necessarily a guy I'd be interested in the Reds taking at 2. I just like him at the end of the first round. If the Reds had a competitive balance pick today, definitely would be interested if he fell, but Reds don't have a competitive balance pick this year as they have in the past. We only have the second pick today, and then another fairly high pick tomorrow in the second round, back where we would have been if it weren't for the lottery. But it says the Guardians pick is in, so we shall see which way they go, whether it be Bazana, whether it be Condon, whether it be either of these pitchers, whether it be Weatherholt, whether it be Caglione, or the Shakas and take a prep bat in Connor Griffin, in Bryce Rainier, they could go any which way. So we shall see where they go. They on ESPN are showing that they have a 18.3 bonus pool. Reds have 15.8. Third highest bonus pool in this draft, behind the Guardians and Colorado. So here we go. Here we go to the commish, I believe. Yep, here we go to Rob Manfred to announce the pick. They go Bazana. Don't hate it. I thought they were going to go Bazana all along. There were some smoke screens late that they might go Weatherholt, save money. There was a lot of action around that late, like earlier this week, that they could go that route, and then over the past couple of days, today and yesterday and Friday this weekend, more people switched to them getting Bazzana. And I truly felt like that was the pick all along, that he was going to be a Guardian. I felt like that was who they were going to take throughout the entire process. I never felt like they were going to go anyone else. It was always Bazzana first, and hopefully Condon second. But any smoke screens otherwise may have been just to try to get him for a lower number, possibly. That's been known to happen. But I feel like the Guardians, they have gotten a really good bat, and a really good middle infielder. He is from Australia, which is cool. But they got a good one here. We'll see how quickly he gets called up. As I said earlier, I don't expect him to be up this year, but in 2025, I surely expect he'll be up. I expect him to be called up probably second half next year, unless he really goes on a legitimate tear down there. Something where he can't be ignored, like he has for Oregon State, so it wouldn't be unheard of for him to do such. But harder to do down there in the minors than it is in college. And it seems like the Reds pick is in, so we shall see where they go. Bazzana had the records for hits and home runs at Oregon State: 251 hits, 45 home runs. Condon had 38 home runs this year alone. So, one of the best power seasons we've ever seen in college. So I hope he is the pick here, and we're going back to the commish to see what the pick is. I believe. No, they're interviewing Bazzana. I apologize. But yeah, I hope the Reds go. Hope the Reds go with Condon. If they don't, I'd be okay with Weatherholt. But those should really be the only two options here. Not interested in Caglione, not interested in Burns at this point. Should really only be either of those two. Or not even really that interested in Hagen-Smith. But Condon first, Weatherholt second, and then if we have to go pitching, then then you can go down the list with either of Burns or Hagen-Smith, but not necessarily interested in that route. But yeah, we shall see where they go. Kelly McDaniel backing up what I said about Bazzana coming up next season. Yeah. I believe that.
So we've had the Guardians. We stay in the Rust Belt. Now it's the Cincinnati Reds. Their pick is in. And the commissioner, Rob Manfred.
Here we go to Rob Manfred.
Does it stay with the college hitters? Do they go pitcher? Do they go high schooler? With the second pick of the 2024 MLB draft, the Cincinnati Reds select Chase Burns.
Chase Burns! Wow! They go Burns. Um, not against it. Chase Burns could be a fast riser, could be a guy who goes to Double A next season, and we see him sooner rather than later, much like Rhett Lauder. Like his stuff, like him stuff a lot. He was a big strikeout guy, um, and was really good for Wake Forest, and for um, was really good for Vanderbilt before that. He had 191 strikeouts, led all Division Ones, won pitchers in that statistic. We're getting a really good pitcher in that, but very, very interesting that we go that route. Top pitcher available instead of top hitter. Makes me think that Condon people are scared of, you know, how well he can do against major league hitting. Um, as far as knowledge of the strike zone and being able to hit breaking balls, that sort of thing, as it is a whole different life than it was in the SEC. So interested to see where he falls to, but Chase Burns is an amazing pick. He does throw over 100 miles per hour, as did Hunter Green. So I'm hoping to see Chase Burns either best case scenario late 2025, early 2026. So surprised we go that route. Very surprised we went the pitching route, but I do have to say that has been a little bit of a need in our system, as we do have some guys up in the majors, and then aside from that, we really don't have too much depth down in the minors. Chase Petty had a rough start to the year, has been doing better lately, but really, really rough start to the season. And then Connor Phillips, who was supposedly starting pitcher 6, just awful, atrocious, worst start to the season than you could think of. But really, aside from them, we also have Julian Aguiar, who's been recently promoted to AAA, has been doing really well down there. But yeah, very surprised to see us go Chase Burns. But yeah, thanks for following along while I, covered who I think the Reds should draft this year and covered our pick. I appreciate it, and I would appreciate you all also subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a nice day.